Anara bojo, zonje winishe wapakwana queen additionicas, matwa minwa takaron tunindonjaba makwan dem. Hi everybody, we're finding our power together, and today we're going to be speaking about strategies for supporting youth and young adults through COVID-19. If you want to find out a bit more about Finding Our Power Together and what we do, you can visit our website at www.findingourpowertogether.com. So before we get started, we wanted to share a little bit more about ourselves and give you a sense of the approach we take in the work we do. So my name is Nicole Ineese-Nash, and I am an Anishinaabe from Constance Lake First Nation, a community in Treaty 9 territory in Northern Ontario. But I currently live in Toronto. I'm also an auntie and parent and have been thinking a lot about how to support youth in northern communities, but also my two young children at home during COVID-19. My educational and professional background is in early childhood studies, social justice education, and Indigenous health, and I've been working with parents, children, and youth in various contexts for a number of years. I'm also an instructor in the schools of early childhood studies and child and youth care, as well as a research associate in the Faculty of Community Services at Ryerson University. I'm the director of Finding Our Power Together, which I'll speak to more in a moment if you don't know us already. I'm looking forward to spending this time with you and sharing what we've learned from working with young people.
So my name is Akbar, and we'll be here today to talk to you about supporting young people in our lives. And my educational and professional background is in child and youth care, and I have been working in the field of CYC for the past 10 years in various settings. Some of those are providing youth work, direct youth work in remote Indigenous communities, to a facilitator and trainer of play-based programming for youth. And now I am currently a therapeutic coach and counselor for young people struggling with anxiety and depression, as well as teaching at Humber College in both child and youth care and community development, though my passions truly lie in working directly with young people and supporting them in reaching their personal goals.
So the session today is really geared towards parents, but also people who work with young people who might be struggling to find ways to support youth at this challenging time. So as we said, we're both part of a team currently working to support youth in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic with Finding Our Power Together. So Finding Our Power Together is a community-based partnership seeking to support Indigenous young people in remote First Nation communities in Northern Canada, particularly around issues of mental health and suicide. Typically, we work with young people to support the realization of their own goals, to encourage them and support them in becoming leaders in their communities, and to access appropriate resources they may be seeking. We do this through preventative youth programming with a trauma-informed and relational approach. Finding Our Power Together also engages in community-based participatory research with young people for the purposes of macro-level advocacy. Our work has shifted due to COVID-19, and we're now working to support local responses to the global health crisis. We worked with individuals and agencies across Canada to be able to send much-needed personal protective equipment and educational resources to several remote First Nations in Northern Ontario and Saskatchewan. We are also launching an online preventative mental health program with young people who are experiencing the impacts of isolation during COVID-19, which is called Building Our Bundle. We'll be sharing some of the strategies that we've developed for this program and to support young people in this strange and stressful time. We'll be posting more of these strategies as we move forward with the Building Our Bundle program in the coming weeks on our website and social media channels. Please visit findingourpowertogether.com or follow us on Instagram or Facebook for more information or to get involved.
Today we will be speaking to you about the approaches that we'll take while working with adolescents and young adults. We'll be discussing briefly the theoretical underpinnings of ecological systems theory and how this relates to supporting young people in a variety of contexts. We will be engaging with you all in a brief participatory activity to help model the strategies we employ with young people we work with, so that you might be able to embed these into your own toolkits for supporting the young people in your lives. If you have questions, please feel free to email us as well about this session. So we hope in the session to help name and address some of the challenges we are facing, with a particular attention to how these factors are impacting young people. In identifying these challenges, we hope to offer interventions that might be applied to better support young people who are particularly struggling during this time. We hope to provide you with tangible tools and strategies that you can employ with the young people in your life, but also tools that may help you to manage your own stress and anxiety that you can model for others. Lastly, we wish to share some of these resources we have collected that might be useful for future support after the session ends.
So we know we are collectively experiencing an unprecedented shift in our normal way of living. There is global unrest, uncertainty, and concern for our immediate and future safety and well-being. However, we know that this pandemic and its effects are not experienced equally by all people. Many communities are facing disproportionate impacts of this new reality, particularly those who have also experienced poverty, disability, racial discrimination, or a variety of other social inequalities. One way of thinking about this in relation to young people we might be working with is through an ecological systems approach. Ecological systems refers broadly to the understanding of our world as a social experience that is contextualized through the interconnected systems present within a person's life. There are the structures that exist in the individual's immediate surroundings, the microsystem, which has direct impact on the individual, their development, and their well-being. This includes relationships the individual has with their family, peers, teachers, and other individuals that are present in their day-to-day lives. Moving slightly outside of the direct relationships the individual has, they are also being impacted by the interactions these individuals have with one another and society at large. For instance, a young person may be indirectly impacted by the relationship their parent has with the teacher or the parent of one of their peers. Young people are also being impacted by larger social institutions with which they have little direct experience. While that might not always be evident, young people are impacted by the structures in which their parents take part. For instance, children who are at home with working parents are having a significantly different experience right now than those whose parents are currently unemployed. On a macro level, young people are also impacted by the larger scale attitudes, beliefs, and circumstances that are occurring on a grander scale. They may be exposed to information about global experiences of the pandemic and are also living firsthand the consequences of this global situation. This macro system shift is what we are collectively experiencing during COVID-19. However, each individual will have different experience in these shared reality based on the composition of the other systems within their lives, as well as their ability to access social determinants of health. Usually, these systems are relatively consistent and help us to make sense of who we are in relation to our contextual environment. However, currently all of the systems in our lives have been drastically altered, which is having various impacts on our health and well-being, particularly for young people whose identity is often more dependent on contextual feedback. It may be helpful to take a moment here to take stock of your own position in the context of your new reality, in order to think how this might be impacting the young people in your life.
We may also associate agency with the ability to live freely in the separate life spaces that we typically have. For example, many of us are used to waking up at home, getting ready for work, grabbing coffee from our local coffee shop, jumping on the subway, and heading into the office to connect with our colleagues. In this scenario, or what might have been our previous reality, we enter into several different life spaces that may have a large impact on our daily life. The one with potentially the most impact may be our workspace, and for the young people in our lives, their school. By not having multiple separate life spaces, all of our typical ways of coping with challenges, seeking support from peers, and connecting with others have been put on hold and moved into our homes. It is important to take a moment to grieve the loss of those life spaces, even temporarily. This can provide a sense of acceptance and allow the young people in our lives to begin to accept our current reality and potentially begin to see the new possibilities that exist within our current reality. After starting the process of acceptance, it is important to begin taking stock of the new challenges that we are each facing within our homes, whether it be intensified anxiety or fear of COVID-19, feelings of isolation and loneliness, anger about the realities of our lives changing, or simply missing our friends and family. Whatever it may be, the first step is discussing it. Take a moment with the young people in your lives to reflect on some things that you are missing pre-COVID-19, but also take a moment to reflect on some of the things you've enjoyed about this time.
So whether you're working with young people in a professional setting or with your own children at home, there are some guiding principles that may be helpful in remembering when approaching some of the difficult conversations we might be engaging in during this time. This is obviously not an exhaustive list by any means, but we think these principles help us to keep in good relations and create a constructive dialogue with young people. So firstly is understanding and acceptance. It's often difficult for us to know how to best approach young people, even if they are our own children. A good place to start is by building an understanding of their experience through meaningful exchange. In order to know how best to support someone, you need to know a bit about where they're at. This might entail getting to know the context of the individual's life, who are people in their immediate surroundings, what specific things about their lives has changed as a result of COVID-19, be careful not to assume you already know what a young person is going through. We will speak more to specific conversation strategies a bit later, but spend some time to get a sense of the specific experience the young person is going through and meet them in it. Understanding and accepting where young people are at and who they are without a specific agenda or intervention allows for meaningful dialogue where young people can assert for themselves the type of support they might want. Similarly, we want to create a sense of safety with young people, where they do not feel threatened or at risk. Particularly at this time where the outside world is posing a very real threat, we need to work with young people to foster a sense of safety and trust within the home environment. Safety in this sense refers to physical safety as well as emotional, mental, and spiritual safety. This may mean identifying potential triggers for your child, developing a plan for de-escalating when emotions become heightened, or changing or developing safe boundaries collaboratively. Safety is a personal experience and is therefore not something we can simply impose on another individual. Instead, developing a shared safety plan with the entire family may help to identify potential threats to well-being earlier and help increase feelings of safety and trust within the household, as well as gives a sense of control to children and youth. Engaging in these conversations requires a non-judgmental approach where we allow for young people to share their experiences without prejudice. Trust is also built through consistency. Even if these conversations do not happen right away, letting young people know that you're there to support them when they are ready can have positive outcomes in the long run. Developing a meaningful relationship with a young person is also essential for being able to support them when in crisis. However, relationships are also reciprocal. This means that as parents or caregivers, it is important that we also share ourselves with our children or the youth that we might be working with. In order for them to want to trust us, we also need to trust them. It's okay to be somewhat vulnerable with youth in sharing our concerns about this new reality. This doesn't mean overburdening them with our fears or anxieties, but providing them the framework for a balanced discussion. We also need to model for them what it looks like to be in good relation with one another. This may mean apologizing when we get flustered or being honest about what we are feeling when they do something we don't agree with. We also need to take time to just be with them, engaging in mutually enjoyable activities.
In adding on to relationality, although it may feel we are spending quite a bit of time with those who we live with, which poses its own challenges, it is, however, important to ask ourselves if the time we've spent with one another has been meaningful, and if so, how. Creating a space for meaningful moments with the young people in our lives allows us to genuinely be in the present and focus on the here and now. It's in these moments where our relationships strengthen, grow, and deepen in each other's presence. Empathy. Having the ability to empathize and show empathy to the young people in our lives demonstrates that you understand what they're feeling, not in a superficial way, but in a deep and meaningful way. Empathy helps us as caring adults to be able to provide effective support and respond appropriately and effectively to what the young person is sharing with us. Practicing kindness and acceptance with our own feelings and emotions will help us to understand and respond to young people's emotions and responses. And lastly, love. Showing a little extra love and kindness and care during this time never hurts, even to ourselves. Love provides others the ability to be open, inclusive, and to grow and change. As practitioners, many may shy away from using the word love in their practice, but similar to with our families, we are in this field because we genuinely care about young people's growth and development. And without love, it can hinder the healthy development of young people. The power of love is limitless, and in challenging times, it may feel hard to have any extra love to give, but this is where dialogue and acceptance come in.
So at this point in the session, we're going to do a bit of a participatory activity, which if you're listening online, feel free to put on some headphones or get into a comfortable chair. And this is an activity you might want to revisit at another time. But as parents and caregivers, we often don't prioritize our own well-being, and it's important that we set the tone for youth and model for them effective coping strategies. So I want to transition here, taking a few deep breaths. So don't worry, we can't see you. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable, and breathe in slowly through your nose and out through your mouth. Do this at a pace that feels comfortable for you. For a second, just embrace the moment, where you are, how you feel. Try not to think about what you need to do next. Just be. Take a moment to check in with your physical self. How does your body feel in its space? Are you holding tension in your neck from watching too many YouTube videos? Feel the sensations through your body with no judgment, no agenda. You don't need to fix anything. Just be. Take a moment now to check in with your mental self. Do you feel your mind wandering? Can you let the thoughts flow out and return to the present? No judgment, no agenda. Check in with your emotional self. How are you feeling? Can you name the feelings in your mind as they arise, and then just let them go? And finally, check in with your spiritual self. Can you feel a connection to something more than yourself? Can you share a sentiment of gratitude? Now take one more deep breath and exhale. You may open your eyes if you've shut them. And Lauren will guide us through another activity that you might want to do with young people in your life. If you want to participate, you may want to have a pen and paper ready.
Thank you for that, Nicole. So many of us might feel uncomfortable talking about our emotions or discussing them openly with our loved ones. However, identifying our feelings is a good first step to building self-awareness and resilience. Now that we have taken a calm and nice moment to feel grounded, let's pause to tune into how you're feeling. Don't worry, again, we can't see you, and so we can't ask you about your emotions either. This is just for yourself. So start and take a look at the list of emotions that we have here in the chart. Scan the list from top to bottom and see which emotions stand out for you. If you have a pen and paper, take them and jot down a few emotions that you identify with currently. If there are any emotions that come to mind that aren't listed, jot these down as well. So you can take a moment to complete this. After you've taken your moment to complete this exercise, consider the following self-reflection questions. Ask yourself if any of these emotions were surprising to you. Were you aware of every emotion that came up? Do you think there are emotions you are feeling that you did not jot down? Sometimes we are not ready to admit the true emotions we are feeling. Young people also may be feeling many different emotions. Some are many that they are unable to name or identify the reason as to why. As caring adults, naming our own emotions and challenges in this time will help to support young people in naming and identifying their emotions as well. Emotions are natural reactions to different situations that we cannot always control, but by being aware of our emotions allows us to begin to control how we respond to our emotions and to not allow our emotions to take control of us. So the next activity that we have is called a body scanning activity. So part of identifying our emotions is knowing and understanding that multiple negative emotions can lead to higher stress and anxiety. So in a time of COVID, like COVID-19, where we might be feeling higher stress, it is a normal response to the situations that we're in. So stress is situational to new demands and pressures. And so especially if we're seeing those new demands and pressures as threatening or dangerous. However, long-term stress can be hard or harmful for your body and potentially cause mental health challenges if left unnoticed and untreated. Our stress can manifest in our bodies in symptoms that are physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral. So for example, you may have difficulty concentrating, some memory challenges, constant worrying, irritability, stomach problems, etc. If you're having these symptoms for a long period of time, you should take note of them and seek out support. So now we're going to take a moment to think back to when Nikki did a brief guided meditation. Did you notice any feelings of stress, tension, or grief in your body? Did you feel tension in your back or pain in your neck? Did you notice that your jaw was clenched? Did you feel knots in your stomach? Did you feel fidgety or unable to get comfortable? Or did you find it hard to focus your thoughts away from the current stressors in your life? If you're able to, draw a picture of your body, of yourself. Mark down different places on your body that you might be feeling pain or holding stress or different challenging emotions in your body. If you're able to mark down and notice these, you might be able to help support them in yourself. So making a regular conscious effort to notice where in your body that stress is manifesting allows ourselves and our loved ones to support us in beginning to take action to resolve those issues. I don't know how many times the people in my life have told me to go see a physiotherapist or do more yoga, as I hold a lot of stress in my back. Although I may get frustrated when I hear those things, deep down I know it's coming from a place of love and support. Helping the young people in our lives to identify how stress is impacting their bodies will help them to gain more self-awareness and to begin to implement strategies to resolve some of those issues. Further, as caring adults, it's important that we are listening for symptoms or feelings of high stress, panic attacks, or overwhelming feelings of anxiety, as this may indicate other mental health concerns. This is not to scare anyone, but to bring our focus to the value of these discussions and the importance of seeking further support when needed.
So now that we've talked about scanning our bodies and seeing where our emotions and stressors are manifesting in our bodies, it's also important that we name our thoughts, because those also can manifest in our physical bodies, but also in our mental selves. So we all have thoughts that are varying from our spectrum, from positive to negative to real and imagined. And similar to our emotions, sometimes our thoughts can feel like they're uncontrollable. It can be difficult to shift our thinking, particularly when we ruminate or think without processing our emotions or thoughts. Taking the time to sit with ourselves and identify the thoughts that arise may help us to shift our perspective into a more balanced state. So I want to encourage you to write on a piece of paper or on a note in your computer the answers to the following questions. What is one thing that you wish you could be doing right now? What is something that is helping you feel okay during this time? What is something that you're enjoying doing these days? What is something you wish you could change right now? What is something you can change right now? What is something you're hoping to let go of moving forward? What is something you're hoping to do more of in the coming days or weeks? What is something that you're grateful for? Who can you call or text if you're having a tough time? This sudden shift in our reality is tough for everyone. One thing that we're feeling that we might not be able to easily identify is grief. We are mourning the life that we knew and were comfortable with before COVID-19. It's okay to feel this way. If we can name this thought as a grief response, we may be able to more easily move through it. It's okay to miss aspects of your life before social distancing, and this time is an opportunity to reassess the aspects of our lives that we want to bring into our futures, and which aspects we may be better without. For young people, there may be many things they miss about their normal lives. This is an entry point into having a conversation about how to manage these thoughts and not get too focused on the negatives. Identifying the things in our lives that help us cope is an important strategy in developing self-care skills. If we know what helps us feel calm, we can just de-escalate our emotions more easily. For young people, it can be difficult to identify these things in the moment, and it's therefore more helpful to have these conversations when they are not escalated. Things that could be helpful in calming us down are small tokens, fidget toys, taking a walk, giving someone a hug, or other things. It's important that we balance our thoughts, not only focusing on negatives, but also on the positives. This time is an opportunity to spend more time doing the things we enjoy. For young people, we can help remind them of the benefits to social distancing by spending time talking about the things they are enjoying. Everyone struggles when they feel like they have little control or agency in their lives. We can help young people to identify the aspects of their lives that are within and outside of their control. This might empower them to take control over aspects of their lives that may bring about confidence and feelings of autonomy. We can also begin to let go of things we do not have control over, which frees up space in our minds. Similarly, there may be things we just need to let go of. Maybe we lessen our expectations of one another or ourselves. Maybe we let go of a task we just can't seem to get to, or that is causing us anxiety. Like we said, this is a time where we can be engaging in critical self-reflection and making some much-needed shifts in our priorities. It's important that young people have something to look forward to in this time. We can encourage them to set priorities for how they want to be spending their time. Be careful not to try to be overly productive. Rather, we can spend more time being creative, being active, being together, and being outside. This is a chance to model for young people things you hope to be doing more of with them. Practicing gratitude can also be difficult in this time, but can help us to stay grounded in the moment rather than spiraling into negative thoughts. Encourage your children and the youth that you know to think about what they have in their lives and what they have to be grateful for. We can turn a negative situation into a positive just by the way that we think about it. It's important to feel connected even when we're apart. This is especially true for young people who have complex peer networks and extended relationships. Talk with them about who are the important people in their lives, and then talk about how they can stay connected. Remind them to check in with these individuals when you notice they're struggling. Your relationship with them is crucial to supporting them through this, but so are their friends and extended family members.
So, finally, we have some tips for parents or caregivers who are starting conversations with young people in their lives. And the tips are to have openness, communication, check in regularly, practice empathy and acceptance, practice self-care, and seek guidance from experts. So, although we may think that our loved ones know that we are open and here for them if and when they need, reminders never hurt. Sometimes young people may think that what they're feeling or thinking is unusual, which may make them feel fearful to share it. By reminding them that you are open to any and all dialogues will show them that you are open and willing to have the tough conversations. Communication and regular check-ins go hand in hand. Checking in more frequently if you're noticing that the young people in your life might be struggling, holding back, or isolating themselves. Being aware of behavior changes and acknowledging that you've noticed them, a change in them, shows that you notice, care, and are there to support them. Although this might feel hard at times to acknowledge, communication will help to break down any barriers that exist to sharing. Practicing empathy and acceptance is incredibly important. Showing the young people in your life that you understand what they're going through and what they are feeling in a meaningful way. It creates a window to providing effective support and allows us to respond appropriately to what the young person is sharing with us. It is also important to support young people in the acceptance of their own stress, fears, and anxiety. These are natural life responses to challenges, and the acceptance helps us to move forward and continue growing. Practicing ongoing self-care for both yourselves and the young people in your life is so important to show a balanced response. Self-care can look differently for everyone, and for me, it's personally allowing myself to enjoy the food that I love guilt-free. Grilled cheese sandwiches and French fries during quarantine have really helped me to get through, and sometimes sharing those things that I love with my loved ones also has helped. Seeking guidance from experts if needed. We all hope that the young people in our lives reach out to us if they need, but most of the time we need to take the first step to check in with them. This is the same for us as caring adults. We need to seek guidance, support, and expertise from others when we are feeling out of our depth and when we need further support or guidance from something for something a young person might be facing, or for something that we ourselves might also be facing.
So this is the end of our presentation today. We encourage you to revisit these activities on your own time and to reflect on which of these, if any, might be helpful for you and your family. How might you adapt these practices with young people in your life? We want to remind you that these are just entry points into meaningful conversations with young people, but they might not be applicable to everyone in the way they're presented here. Perhaps you can model these practices, talk about them, or embed the overarching principles more explicitly into your relationships with the young people in your life. We are happy to answer any questions you might have. Here are our contact information. Feel free to send us an email if you have any further questions or to get involved with Finding Our Power Together. Miigwech.
Miigwech.